Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Millie, and if you are not new here, it's so nice to see you again. This week I thought I'd do a little sit down video and basically do a what I spend in a month living in Sydney. I did one of these videos last year and it was really eye-opening for me actually, because it really highlighted like where I was spending my money, where I was wasting money most importantly, and like kind of helped me get back on track with my priorities and really just like realign myself with what's most important to me. So I thought it'd be interesting to do another video a year later to see if my spending has like really changed since this time last year. So if you did want to go check out that video, I'll link it up here for you and you can have a look at that. Now, obviously finances are one of those things that are like so different for everybody. Everyone's priorities are different and there's no right or wrong way to organize your finances, right? So this is really just me going through and telling you guys what I do, like where I spend my money, what I spend my money on. And honestly, I would really recommend getting yourself a tracker and tracking all of your finances, because honestly, it is eye-opening when you actually realize and you're looking at every single dollar, like where you're actually spending your money, especially if you're somebody that gets to the end of the pay cycle and you're like, oh my God, I really need to get paid again. Because I bet if you tracked for 1 month, you'll be like, oh, that's where all my money is going. So let's get right into it. And I kind of separate this into a couple of different categories. The first category I call them my fixed expenses, but they're not necessarily actually all fixed expenses, but they're basically things that I have to pay. So like my rent, bills, my car payments, like anything like that. Then I'll have my variable expenses, which is pretty much like my wants. So my fixed are my needs and my variables are my wants. Now, separate to that, I also will have a separate category for saving and investment, because I do think it's important to be thinking for the future. Those are sort of like my three main categories that I'll go through, and then at the end I'll sum up pretty much how much I spent in 1 month living in Sydney. So I've got my phone here with me because I actually have all of the numbers on my phone, although I do also keep it on my spreadsheet, which is here, but just for ease and quickness of today's video, I put everything here on my phone. So starting with my fixed expenses. So starting with rent. Now I paid $1,300 in rent for 1 month. Just to preface that, I don't live by myself. I do live with somebody else. So obviously rent is divided between us. Then on top of that, we have my health insurance. Now I pay $86 for health insurance, and basically I just have like the minimum level required essentially. So it's just like hospital only. I don't pay for any extras. For my phone bill, I'm actually just on an Optus pay-as-you-go. I've like never signed up for a contract for a phone, even though I've been in Australia now for over 5 years. But I paid $45 for my phone this month, which is actually slightly more. Sometimes I'll do the $35 deal, but this time around I did the 45 because I was finding that I was running out of data, because I am addicted to my phone and I have a problem and I go through data like that is no tomorrow. Then the next thing is internet, and I spent $25 on internet, which is pretty cheap to be honest with you. And then TV subscription. So we have Binge, Netflix, Stan, and I think that's it. I think those are like the three that we have at the minute. And I paid $21 for those. So again, just to preface, like a lot of these costs as such, some of them will be split between me and Steven, who is my boyfriend. So for example, like TV subscriptions, internet, etc. Like that's just like my share of these things. And then the final thing I have in my fixed expenses is the gym. Now I remember the last time I did this video, I spent like $600 or something in 1 month on the gym. And that, it was that single fact alone. And I was like, oh my God, I need to rethink my spending, because $600 on a gym is just like absolutely not, like no way, that was not okay. So since then I have quit the Pilates studio that I was going to that was costing me like $400 a month, which is just insane. And I basically just signed up to Pilates at like my actual gym, which I still have my membership for, which to be honest with you, I'm actually not even really using at the minute because I'm training for a triathlon. So I just don't have time in my schedule for Pilates or weights right now. So I am kind of still paying for that gym membership and not really using it, but it is only like $30 a week. So I'm kind of like justifying it as like, oh, I'll just keep going with it because I will go back at some stage. Then next within my fixed expenses is my car. Now I have a little beat up old Golf. Like my car is nothing special. I would actually love a car. My dream car would be well, if I had all the money in the world, my dream car would be a G-Wagon. But if I'm trying to think of something that's like more realistic and more in my budget, then I would love a Jeep Wrangler. But cars are just one of those things I find it hard to justify spending money on a car, especially because I don't own a house yet. So I think I would find it difficult to spend a lot of money on a car before owning a house. So the car that Stephen and I have is just like a little beat up Golf. We pay for our registration and our insurance either every 6 months or every year. This, at the minute, we're doing every 6 months because genuinely this car might break down at any stage. So we're just doing 6 months at a time. But in this month, I spent only $2 on parking. So we must have like gone down to the beach or something one day and paid for parking. And then we put $40 in the car for fuel, which is so cheap. I mean, we really don't use the car very much, but also petrol is just pretty cheap. Well, I say pretty cheap here. It's cheaper than what it was in England. So we can fill up our car for like $80 maybe. So yeah, that's pretty good. Now moving on to bills. So for reference, we have electricity, water and gas. I actually, in last year's video, pretty sure I said that you don't have to pay water when you're renting in Australia. And I found out when I moved into this new apartment that that is not true. You basically have to pay, or you can pay for your water rates if the water is metered, and they can, I guess, like separate out how much water is being used by each apartment. And because the building that I live in is a new build, I guess they're able to do that. But honestly, it's not very expensive at all. But for the three of those in the month, I paid $74. So that's not too bad. I feel like that's kind of standard, I guess. Like, I don't think we over or underuse compared to other households. So yeah, there's that. Now, next is groceries, and Stephen and I obviously do all of our food shopping together. So my share of the food was $437 for a month. I think from memory, that is less than what we were spending last year, which I would actually be interested if it is, because obviously the cost of living and the price of everything is increasing. So maybe we are just like spending less, I don't know, but that seems kind of low to me, to be honest. We typically spend like, at the minute, I'd say like $150-ish a week on food shopping, but I have kind of changed and I'm only doing a food shop from Monday to Friday, because I noticed like before I was doing it Monday to Sunday, and then we were kind of wasting food a little bit because by the time it got to the weekend, we'd have plans, or like, you know, one of us wouldn't be here, and it was just, I don't know, I feel like we were wasting food. So now at the minute, I only do my food shop Monday to Friday, and then at the weekends, we'll just like pick whatever we need, like as and when we need it. Going on to public transport. Now, public transport is actually like pretty cheap here in Sydney, to be honest, like when you compare to London, because London was extortionate for public transport. But I only spent $29 on public transport. I also don't have to get public transport like that frequently. Like the buses are super cheap, and the rare occasion that like I need to go into the city, I'll jump on the train. But honestly, like I don't get public transport every day, so my costs are probably lower than a lot of people that need to use public transport every single day. So let's move on to more of like my variable costs. So this is more like my wants rather than my needs. Taxis, and I'm actually really proud of myself because I spent $0 on taxis. And I think that's like, I'm really impressed with that, because I am definitely one that's guilty of being like, oh, let's just get Uber instead of getting on the bus or whatever. But I've been trying to really cut that down, and seeing a zero in that category makes me so happy. And speaking of zeros and being happy, another category I spent $0 in was takeout. And if you know me, that is an accomplishment in itself, because I love a takeout. But the month that I'm basically giving all of these figures for, I was in a really strict calorie deficit. And I was basically cutting, so the takeouts didn't fit in my macros. And yeah, that's great though. $0 on takeout is really good. Next on the list is entertainment, and my version of entertainment is basically like going to the cinema, like activities, and I spent $332 on this. Now, I will preface this, that is higher than what I would usually spend, but there were two things that happened in this month. The first was that I went to go see Coldplay, and about $100 of that is the drinks that we had at Coldplay. I kind of like categorize the drinks within this entertainment category rather than my nights out category, because it's not really a night out. Like it was, but it's not like just going out drinking with my friends. Like we were actually at a concert. And the second reason that this is higher than normal is we actually bought tickets to go and see the Kooks. So I don't remember how actually much those tickets were, but those were like the two big purchases from this month. So that's why that's kind of a little bit higher than I would expect it to be. Next is eating out, and in this month I spent $180 on eating out, which isn't too bad. I love going out to eat. It's like one of my favorite things to do, so I don't really mind if this category is quite high. $180 I actually don't even think is that bad, to be honest, because like for 1 whole month I really don't think it's that bad. But also it was probably lower than my usual months because I was in this calorie deficit, so I wasn't going out to eat as much. Moving on to personal care. Now personal care is things like haircuts, getting my nails done, like all of those little bits and pieces. And I actually went away in November, so my cost for this was $219, which is probably slightly higher. One thing I did tell myself though is that I'm gonna start having nails on all the time, and already we're only like a couple months into the year and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to keep spending money on doing that. Also annoying because like this nail, for example, right now is broken and I just think it's so ugly when it's broken. But anyway, that is like not what this video is about. But $290 on personal care, so I definitely think that is something that I can rein in a little bit on. Next category is gifts, and in this month I only spent $21 on a gift, which is actually just my share of buying a birthday cake for somebody, so nothing that exciting there, but $21 on gifts for the month. Now one category that stuck out this month is hobbies, and hobbies are, I don't know why I'm explaining to you guys what a hobby is, you know what a hobby is, but for me it's anything that I'm like doing just for fun. So whereas I have like entertainment that's like the cinema, like obviously going to the cinema isn't really like a hobby, so hobbies are like anything kind of fitness related to me, so like my marathon training, etc. I kind of classify all of that as hobbies, and I'm kind of embarrassed to give you guys this number, but I spent $843 on hobbies in this month. That's a lot of money. I'm just gonna let that sink in for a second because that is a lot of money to spend on hobbies. Now, 2 major things that I paid for in this month. The first was my triathlon ticket, which was just under $400. So that's like half of that amount pretty much already gone. And the second thing that I paid for in this month were my swimming lessons. And again, my swimming lessons were $370, I think, $400, like something like that. Again, mega expensive. So that's like the majority of my hobby spend on those 2 things alone. But the triathlon is next weekend, and the swimming lessons I do actually think have been worth the money. So whilst it was very hard to let all of that money go at once, I feel like it will be worth it in the end. We've got another 0 category on the list, which is what we like to see, and that is for clothes. I've been so strict with myself with buying clothes this year. I have like, in here is like my walk-in wardrobe, and I actually just like don't really need new clothes. Like I have a lot of clothes, like I am a girl, I have a lot of stuff, and I've been really trying to stop that mentality of, oh, I need a new outfit for every single thing I go to, or when we go away I need to wear something new. So I always now try to look through my wardrobe first. If I really don't have anything in my wardrobe, or if I'm going on holiday, then I'll go to my friends and I'll ask my friends if I can borrow stuff. And yeah, so 0. I honestly would think over the next year I'll have like very close to 0 spending in when it comes to clothes. Next category is nights out, and basically I just classify anything that involves going out and drinking. So even if I've just like gone to the bottle shop to buy like a bottle of Prosecco for a night out, for like a pre-drinks, like that all goes into my nights out category. And I can't actually remember exactly what my figure was the last time I did this video, but I do think I was going out a lot more and drinking a lot more back then. But this month it was only $91, which I don't think is bad at all. That's probably only like one night out, because usually I would probably spend like $100 to $200 on one night out. So pretty good. Also, again, probably all tied in with the fact that I was on this calorie deficit, so I couldn't really fit alcohol into my macros. So overall, I feel like the high expense of the hobbies has kind of been like equalized by the fact that my food and going out bills have been a lot lower. The next category is household goods. Now, not gonna lie, I actually don't know what I bought, but there are a few things from Kmart on my statement and I don't remember what I bought, so I just put all of those things under household goods. So they might not be part of that category, but I honestly just can't remember what I bought, so that is what it is. Then another 0 category is makeup. I think I probably was close to 0 in the last one for makeup. I really don't buy makeup very often. I don't actually really like to wear that much makeup. So my balance is usually 0 for makeup, to be honest. Unless like I run out of something, then I really just like don't have a reason to buy more makeup. Now, the last time I filmed this video, I had a confession to make, and that is that I have to have a separate field specifically for Sushi Train, because I am obsessed with Sushi Train. Like, it is a problem. It is a genuine addiction that I have to Sushi Train, and that means I've got to really watch what I spend in that, because it can get carried away very, very, very easily. But I'm happy to say I only spent $38 in sushi trading this month, which is probably like 2 trips, because usually when I go, I spend like 20 bucks or so on sushi. And yeah, so that's only 2 trips. So congrats to me on cutting down my sushi addiction. The next thing, and I guess this is sort of like a big aspect of my life, but is holidays and traveling. And the number I'm about to say, it is a high number, not gonna lie, but I just want to preface this by saying that going on holiday and traveling and seeing the world is like what I like to do. So where I don't spend money on really like going out that much, or clothes or makeup, seeing the world and having those experiences is like, that's what I'm here to do. Like that's what I feel like is my main priority in my life right now. So that being said, I spent $1,535 on holidays, and that is primarily 3 things. The first thing, I had a trip to the Gold Coast during this month, so I included like anything I basically spent on going out, food, etc. That all came under this category. And then the 2 other things I bought were 2 different flights to 2 different destinations that I am going to at some stage this year. So that's why that's quite high this month. Obviously every month definitely does not look like that. Like I'm not going on holiday, I'm booking trips every single month, but that's why this month is slightly higher than usual. Now, the final thing I am going to talk about is savings and investments. Now, I would like to think I'm pretty good with money, and I think I'm quite financially responsible and definitely financially literate. So here's like a very quick breakdown of my investments and savings. So I invested $468, which is much lower than what I would usually try to do. However, because I had all of those high expenses this month in terms of like my hobbies and my holidays, my investments were slightly lower than what I would usually like to do. Then I am trying to save for a house at the minute. So I'm trying to save a down payment for a house. And I have put away $1,312 into my home savings. And then the final thing that I save for pretty religiously is going on holiday. So people often ask me like, how do I afford to go on all of these holidays? And I literally save for them. Like I'm a proactive person. Like I will put money away so that when I want to go away somewhere, like I already have the money to go and do it, and I'm not like dipping into my regular savings for that. So in this month, I put away $977 into my like travel fund savings account, and that's pretty much everything. So that brings us to the end of this video. I kind of wanted to do this pretty quick fire because I didn't want you guys to sit here for like half an hour and just listen to me ramble. So I hope that was kind of useful for you if you're thinking of moving over to Sydney and you're trying to figure out whether you're going to be able to afford it. Obviously, you know, everyone's lives are different. It's going to be so dependent, but hopefully that gives you an idea of sort of like the general gist of what I spend here in Sydney. So in total, that brings my total spend to $5,434 for 1 month living in Sydney. And just to preface that, that doesn't include any of my like savings or investments. Now, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in next week's video.